Marine debris is really a human behavior and a trash problem. Because it goes mostly unseen, few of us pay attention to it. Unfortunately, that's the nature of us humans.
Most Hawaii residents have never experienced beaches that were almost completely covered in human trash and also what we now call marine debris. There was a time when our public beaches and outlying areas were dumping grounds for unconcerned citizens. Today, isolated beaches like this one on the island of Kaho'olawe are situated in places where waves, tides, and winds deposit tons of man-made trash. We met with Carrie Morishige to talk about marine debris and the effects it has on all of us and the ocean that surrounds the Hawaiian Islands. Carrie is the Pacific Islands Regional Coordinator with the NOAA Marine Debris Program.
So marine debris has a lot of potentially negative impacts, everything from wildlife entanglement to ingestion, some of our seabirds, turtles, all the way down to zooplankton now being found with bits of marine debris. It's a navigational hazard. A lot of the stuff that we see, especially here in Hawaii, are those huge tangles of derelict fishing gear, those being out in the open ocean, for navigation. And ships is a big navigational hazard. Can also transport alien species. And all of these have an economic cost to it.
In Hawaii, we mostly do not tolerate the dumping of trash on our shorelines and beaches. We've created laws and funded enforcement to prevent this from happening. However, in less traveled or seen places, countless tons of human trash or marine debris is accumulating.
So one of the more typical types of marine debris we see on the shores is plastic. And yes, plastic, common plastics in particular, they do break down. So plastic debris does degrade, and it pretty much breaks into smaller and smaller and smaller pieces down to the microscopic level. It's definitely an area of increasing concern within the marine debris community. There's been a lot more research focus on that area, not just on the ingestion side, things like I said down to the zooplankton level being found with tiny, tiny pieces of plastic debris in their stomachs, but also because we've found that some of the chemicals that plastics are made with, plasticizers, for example, leach out of this debris into the ocean, and looking at the impacts potentially of that. Also, plastic debris serve as kind of attractors for what's called persistent organic pollutants, things like DDT, PCB that we've all heard about. These plastic debris items attract it, and those chemicals stick to these pieces of plastic debris that are then ingested by animals. We don't know yet, the research hasn't gotten us to the point yet where we can describe to you what the food chain level effects of this are, whether or not that plastic debris and the pollutants that stick to it affect us as humans yet. But the research is still catching up and getting there.
Plastic grocery bags eventually break down into millions of tiny particles. Lots of these pieces and the pieces of other plastic products are turning up in the bodies and stomachs of fish and other species that we eat. It's another sight unseen mess that we seldom think about.
Because of our location in the middle of the North Pacific Ocean, while we are the furthest, archipelago from anything, we serve as sort of an accumulation area for marine debris within the North Pacific Ocean. And it's because we sit in the middle of what's called the North Pacific Subtropical Gyre, and on a grand scale, on an ocean basin scale, anytime you have water that's circulating, for example, if you sprinkle confetti in your toilet and flushed it, the confetti is gonna accumulate in the center. And Hawaii sits in the center of that bigger North Pacific Subtropical Gyre.
Our seabirds, like these albatross, are picking up floating human trash and ingesting it to the point where thousands of them are dying. It's a huge red flag that we should pay more attention to.
We do find a lot of what we refer to more as kind of litter type items on our beaches. That's what we typically see as marine debris here in Hawaii. Lighters, the bottle caps, combs, toothbrushes, beverage containers, food wrappers, cigarette butts. In fact, things like cigarette butts and food wrappers, those are the number 1 and 2 items as far as marine debris that we see here in Hawaii. Why should we care? That's a good question. It's really, tough to not get disheartened working in this field, because you see so much of this trash a lot of the times, and you know, depending on where you go, I've seen entire beaches covered in marine debris where there was no place you could put your foot where you wouldn't step on debris. And you know, for the health of our oceans, for just the worth of going out to the shoreline and seeing a beautiful white sand beach, for being able to surf because the coral reefs are healthy and creating the surf for us. For all of those reasons, you know, people should care about marine debris.